have a bank account, and 90% of financial transactions are still made in cash. In Nigeria, the percentage figure of the unbanked and underbanked population currently stands at 48.8% and 10.6% respectively, making it a total of 59% that are financially excluded. Who are these people? These are mainly petty traders, small-scale enterprise owners, farmers and artisans who live in rural and urban areas. Most often, they indulge in daily thrift contributions, also known as esusu, where a collector collects a certain amount of money from customers, and at the end of a month, the collector takes a fraction of the money for the services rendered. Are you aware of the problems faced by these esusu collectors and their customers? No. Too much paperwork leading to frequent data loss and errors. High cash usage resulting in robberies, fraud and other cash-related crimes. It can also lead to financial loss in the case of fire and flooding incidents. They also have low access to credit and digital financial services. Their operational process is inefficient, leading to wastage of time and effort. So what is the way out? Are you a thrift collector or a financial service provider? Do you know that using electronic esusu can help digitize, improve and enhance the performance of your esusu scheme in a fast and secured system? With electronic esusu, we explore the digital payment technology, global system mobile device, and a responsive smart agent network to drive financial inclusion to the last mile. Our system also provides members and management of the esusu schemes with instant information on any transaction made, and it guarantees security of data and information. So what are you waiting for? Quickly sign up as an agent on e-esusu.ng and download the mobile app. Submit credentials for verification, agree to the terms and conditions, and start operating from any location. Let us also support CBN and all its allies to promote financial inclusion towards making the vision of cashless Nigeria by the year 2020 an utmost reality. Electronic esusu is proudly supported by these partners.
Good morning, everybody. We welcome back to the third day of this event. My name is Ajitumobi Olumayowa. I'm the servant of Financial Inclusion Africa, and it's good to have everybody today as we discuss the topic of the day. I won't like to waste much of your time. We started this event November 1st, 2021, and it's been global. It's been wonderful. It's been awesome because we've had a majority of the people across the world joining on Tuesday, Wednesday, yesterday, and today, Thursday, which is going to be the last day. It's nice to have a great session with the panelists here today. It's my pleasure to just go ahead and introduce the moderator of this day, introducing Mr. Oluwaseun Adesanya, who is from System Specs. He will talk much about everybody and himself as the program continues. Mr. Oluwaseun Adesanya, the moderator of this day, the floor is over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone all over the world. And greetings from Lagos, Nigeria, the capital center and the economic center of the biggest economy in Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. Like the convener mentioned, my name is Oluwaseun Adesanya. I work with System Specs. System Specs is the owner of Remita, the popular Remita the electronic payment platform that helps in processing transactions across Nigeria and towards other parts of Africa. And of course, we pride ourselves to also have an indigenous payroll and HR solution that is being used across Africa. And I'm happy to be here and to also be the moderator of this session. Let's keep the ball rolling. Have several thought leaders, industry leaders across Africa on this platform today. And I think it would be a great honor if I allow each and every one of them to blow their trumpet. So let's start with Mr. Olaoluwa. Then thereafter, Mr. Shola should be ready, and Fasashi should also be ready to take after.
All right. Thank you very much, Oluwaseun. My name is Olaoluwa Awojodu. I'm the CEO of eSettlement Limited. We're a fintech, really. We do a lot of things, payments, merchant services, but of course, our major focus over the last few years has been agent banking. We currently own and manage the PayCenter agent network. We have over 70,000 agents in Nigeria alone. And then also, we've also expanded our services outside of Nigeria. So we have agent network services in 4 other countries: Niger, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and Togo. And these agents pretty much do the same thing: cash in, cash out, funds transfer, bill payments, airtime top up, account opening, and so on. So pretty much what we do. And I just want to say that I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to participate and contribute, in every way I can. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So let's have Mr. Shola.
Yes, good morning. My name is Shola Bickerstedt. I'm the GMD of Financial Inclusion Centers, FIC Exchange PLC. We don't do cash in, cash out business, as it's called. We specialize in the additional services that make financial inclusion possible. We, of course, were in Nigeria, and we've actively been involved in activities around identity management, loan disbursements, and stuff like that. It's a great pleasure to be to join this session today. Thank you.
Awesome. That's good. So let's. The next person will be Mr. Fasasi. Mr. Fasasi is still there. Mr. Fasasi, over to you.
Yes. Good morning, all. My name is Fasasi Sarafadi. I'm the CEO, Partner the Ecosystem. We run an agent network company across Nigeria. We are playing in a special space, which is more downstream sector of the agency banking business, where we work with all providers in Nigeria to step down their solutions, products and services. We have worked with almost all the providers, top providers of agency banking services in Nigeria. We have onboarded close to 10,000 agents across all platforms in Nigeria for the past 10 years. We have been the brain behind identifying resourceful locations for agents, to also mobilize resources to set up agent locations, because our company has been able to discover that technology may not be able to run alone. There must be people behind it. And those people need capacity training. So we have been in charge of capacity training for all agents across board, irrespective of the provider platform. We have also been a source of funding mobilization for agent setup across Nigeria. So today we step up to the level of accommodating, leveraging on the API solution accommodating all providers, being a kind of a gateway for their services and products to be able to get to the last mile. Thank you.
Thank you for that awesome introduction. I was also expecting Mr. Oguntoyinbo to also be available, but I guess probably he's also trying to join. I think he's available now, so let me give the room to Mr. Oguntoyinbo to also do a brief introduction.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. That could be better.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. My name is Abdulaziz Oguntoyinbo, and I'm the head of business development at the SUSU Africa. Basically, we are a fintech company that provides digital platform.
I'm not sure we can hear him again. I guess the network has gone off. Anyway, let's just go on, pending when it comes back. Once again, I want to welcome everyone to this session. I want to welcome everyone to this session. So today we're actually looking at agent banking network driving financial inclusion in an uncertain times. That poses a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of participants will definitely have a lot of things going through their mind. What is the correlation? What exactly is going on? So let me throw the ball to Mr. Olaoluwa, the CEO e-Settlement. In your own understanding, what will you best describe as uncertain times?
All right, thank you, Shola. I think that the word itself is actually very interesting. Of course, because we're in Nigeria, a lot of things are uncertain. Even I do understand that the focus is on agent banking, but even outside of agent banking, Nigeria has so many challenges that on its own just generally impact on agent banking. Now, the good news, though, is that no matter, it's actually challenges that create opportunities. And it is the challenge that we have in terms of financial inclusion, access to financial services that has actually created agent banking. But the point is that so many things are not the way they should. There's a lot of insecurity in the north. You have even places, some states don't even have internet connectivity anymore because the governor switched it off. And all that. So how do people transact and do transactions? So we have that happening on one side. We have the other side of forex, where you can't really determine what the rate of forex is. When you can't determine what the rate of forex is, because we do not manufacture anything, it means that you can't really tell what prices of things should be. So how much the POS terminal, the price you bought it yesterday is not the price they are buying it today. Would most likely not be the price they are going to buy it next year. So all that is just a lot of uncertainties, and then even for the people, for the agents as well, there's a lot of inflation, which of course, there are a lot of things that add up that creates that level of inflation, and prices are changing like every day. So there's actually a lot, that is uncertain in the economy as it is. There's also the political landscape, and all that. Nothing really looks like it's you can really plan well and be able to execute on your plan. But then the interesting thing is that we are Nigerians, and challenges are not new to us. We've pretty much survived a lot of uncertainties over time, and somehow we are very, very resilient, and we always manage to pull through no matter what. But I think the final point I just want to also add in terms of uncertain times is that I don't know, the thing just it came and it left now. But yes, essentially the times are tough. So the point I wanted to add also is that what we've seen over time is that when there's a lot of uncertainty, it doesn't really affect financial transactions as much. So what I'm trying to say is this: people are feeling insecure. People are not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. The reality is that when we go through those type of periods, especially maybe like the COVID, when COVID was really major, like last year, people tend to even transact more because all of a sudden you're like, oh, something is happening somewhere. I need to send money to my parents, make sure they're comfortable. Something is happening over there. I need to, get out cash and make sure that I have enough cash and things like that. So even despite all the uncertainties, we realize that financial transactions are more like, fundamental transactions that need to happen. So they still keep happening. As long as salaries are being paid, as long as people need to buy and sell, transactions would always keep happening. So it's only going to get really bad when the economy runs to a full standstill and then everything shuts down. But aside from that, people would always continue to transact. I just wanted to add that it is all not bad news only. There's a bit of lining in all that. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for that, Mr. Fasasi. You've been so well in the agent banking space. What do you think the uncertain times have been of impact to transaction in that space?
Thank you very much. Uncertain times to general public, maybe thinking COVID. We have more than COVID, and I think the first speaker has also mentioned few of it. So when we are looking at uncertain times from the experience of COVID, it's actually a plus to agency banking and agency services because they could no longer access the banking hall because the banking hall now looks like as if that is where COVID itself is. People are restricted right away from the gate, you see people under the tents, so it's very terrific. So majority of the people really, they are not ready to pass through that stress. So they prefer to quickly access agent location very close to them and get their payments done because more than 80% of what actually happen in the banking hall is actually about payments, cash in, cash out. So if I can do it at an agent location without sitting under the tents, under the sun, then it's good for me. So in fact, agents generally became so popular during COVID period. And we can also see various data pointing to the fact that transaction actually grew during COVID. But there are self-inflicted uncertain times. The self-inflicted, industry-inflicted. While we have inflation, while we have exchange rates, while we have all that, the industry actually started playing price competition. So they started, while the prices of every services are increasing due to competition here and there, because the provider space is actually oversaturated now. So they compete based on prices, and before you know it, they started actually driving out the committed providers because of it's no longer a business. But today, the truth is that the industry is so saturated to the level that the committed providers are no longer interested in the business. For a PTSP to cover the cost of POS today, I'm sorry, it's going to take years. So, and a lot of committed agents too that have grown agent network, they are frustrated out of the business because of the oversaturation. And also most of the stakeholders has also been able to move to the level of turning agency banking into empowerment program, like distributing grinding machine and tailoring materials. So it is not that. This is financial services. There must be standard. So today we find ourselves in a situation where people cannot actually make business sense out of agency banking. So I think that's another sense of uncertain times. So the last one that I observe is the insecurity. That's peculiar to the Nigerian space, where tomorrow, the government wakes up and shut down the network. of the whole state, definitely for insecurity. It's actually, paralyzed all the agent activities in that kind of activity. So it actually gave us a lot of, challenges, moving agents, evacuating them from such axis to a less, security prone axis. So we are really in an uncertain times, and I think we are actually trying to maneuver through the stormy waters.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. I think everything is still boiled down to the fact that I keep hearing that even in uncertain times, and there seems to be opportunity that a lot of people are also taking advantage of. So let me ask Mr. Shola. Um, Several people have said so much about agent banking over the last couple of years, thereabout. But the challenge is that it seems it's still trending. Why is the conversation still relevant in certain times like this? Hello, Mr. Shola, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Shola, can you hear me? Okay, probably I will allow him to come back. Can you hear me, Mr. Shola?
Okay. Can you repeat the question
I'm
again?
saying, why is the topic agent banking still trending, despite the fact that it has been a long time a conversation? I'm not sure he can hear me. So let me speak to Abdulaziz. What's your own take on the trending topic of agent banking?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's very pertinent to note that agent banking in Nigeria is a great potential, not only to drive financial inclusion, but also to enhance digital financial services at the last mile. If you look at the informal segment today, you have several of these market women and men that actually transact informally, and they do this in form of daily contribution. So most often, these people are actually not exposed, not able to access a bank very close to them, and not only because they are in rural area, even in urban areas. Look at how concentrated Lagos is. You still have a lot of traction in terms of POS transactions. If you get the report from NIPS, so what are the kind of thing we can learn from that? People, most of these people that transact, they don't actually find it easy uh, to go to the bank to go and transact. So they like leveraging nearby agents. For instance, where we are here at Pedro Show in Yaba, there's a big market here. And what baffles me a lot is that each time I come to work, because we also have a kiosk that is deployed outside in the market to also enhance this agency banking and institutional collection. But what baffles me is that in front of the kiosk, you have a lot of both male and female, agents standing. They don't have a kiosk. They don't have a stand. They are just shouting POS here, POS here, POS here. And you have a lot of people transacting with them that comes to the market to come and buy goods, come and actually get something, get fabric from the market. So what can we learn from this? This let us know that agent banking is here to stay. You have a lot of all these customers that you want to access, a financial service. You just need to embrace, getting these agents and trying to access this service from this agent. So you have a lot of potential, not only because of lack of access to these good roles by banks for them to set up, the nearby branches, even several microfinance banks, you know, microfinance institutions, cooperatives, not only the full-fledged banks and licensed entities are also leveraging this agent banking model. And I believe with what we are learning from even a social collection from our own end, it's really an enabler to drive financial inclusion. So agent banking is here to stay. People wants to do cash in, cash out. They want to have access to collect money, to send money, and they don't want to go and queue at ATM. They don't want to, go to the bank to go and do the transaction. They just want to get it done in haste. So that's why you have a lot of potential in agent banking today. So this is what we are learning, and with the Susu, it's really, an enabling tool, an enabling environment to drive agency banking. And this is something we can all learn from what is happening from this financial inclusion ecosystem.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for that. Meaning that technology on its own is not the entire solution. It also means that agent banking has a very important role to play, especially in inclusion. Now, let me come back to Mr. Shola. They've said the reason why agent banking is still trending and why it's also very important. From your own angle, especially driving an organization that looks into inclusion, how do you think agent banking plays that role that can help us to drive the inclusion, especially in this part of the world called Nigeria?
Well, I think we should start looking at agent banking a little differently. It's a foundational service, and we remember that Nigeria has a largely informal economy, and when we refer to exclusion, we're referring in practice to the informal economy. What agent banking has done and is still doing is to become the connector between what is regarded as the formal economy. If you use BVN as a yardstick, about 40 million Nigerians, and the informal economy, which is about 100 and something Nigerians, who still fall into the majority. So it's like water. You can't survive without it, and that's just the reality of the Nigerian space. It's here to stay, and of course, there are now about 900,000 in quotes agent banking points across the country. It's really more important than just saying that it is one of the channels that are important. It is a foundational component of linking the excluded with the so-called included in Nigeria.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Back to Mr. Olaoluwa. I know you've done a lot of agency banking in Nigeria. You have also crossed the border to some other African countries. So the question is, what is changing in the model and in implementation of agent banking, especially under these uncertain times? What exactly is changing? What are the so-called lesson point or learning curve we can take from your implementation across several countries?
Also, I think first of all, if I want to speak from a continental point of view, I would say that agent banking is not, or rather Africa is not homogeneous in the sense that what works in Nigeria does not work somewhere else. But then even that don't like taking too far. Even in Nigeria, you realize that places are different from each other. And the strategy that works very well in Southwest will not necessarily work very well in the North or in the Southeast. So those are some of the things that you need to know and then be able to say, okay, this is our strategy for implementation in this region. We have a different strategy for implementation in this region. Being able to test and try, figure out what works and then push that. But there are some things that are universal. So first of all, we like to think about agent banking as, I think it was Mr. Fasasi that mentioned it earlier in terms of job creation. So it's actually an empowerment tool, and I feel like part of the reasons why agent banking has been on the rise and still being talked about is that empowerment side of things. Because the Nigerian economy is such that pretty much whatever solution you have in the market, your competition is food. What that means is that, Nigerians are thinking, do I pay for your service or do I buy food? Like things are really that tight. So usually when you have such situations, anything that empowers people would most likely do very well. So, typical example would be things like Uber, where all of a sudden I'm using an Uber solution and then I'm able to provide for my family. The same thing applies to agent banking, because now I'm being able to provide financial service to my community that has now become a tool to feed my family and send my children to school. So things like that usually do well in Nigeria. But then over time, we've seen a lot of different strategies. We've seen things like Mr. Fasasi as well mentioned, a lot of price reduction because of so many players, everybody's trying to get market share. So people are starting to slash their own pricing to be able to gather a bit of market share. So we are seeing that as well. We're also seeing a lot more efficiency in terms of dispute resolution process, because that matters a lot when you do a transaction and it says transaction failed and then the customer is still debited. So all that process has to always be improved. We're also seeing access to loans, providing loans for agents, being able to make sure that they need money to transact, they can have all that. So a lot of things are happening, a lot of things are changing, and I feel like things will always continue to evolve. And I feel like agent banking will still be dominant for at least maybe the next 5 to 10 years before maybe things evolve further. But that is where we are right now.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's quite insightful, especially from yourself, who have probably crossed the border to other countries in helping to drive inclusion. Mr. Fasasi, you have also entrenched the agent banking in Nigeria. So the question is, what exactly is the biggest challenge or challenges for the success of agent banking in Nigeria, especially? I know there are several things. Yes, and so what are the top five challenges for agent banking in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I think based on the dynamics of agency banking now, because what we are actually, every time I say this in any conversation, people feel so, surprised about. Actually, I said all the players, even the mobile money, licensed mobile money operators in Nigeria, are rendering agency banking services. Because what we have been able to find out is that there is a unique model for Nigeria, and that is, cash in, cash out, FICO agents across everywhere in Nigeria. So for investors to recoup their investment, they have to actually play in the agency banking space. So what is the biggest challenge today? The biggest challenge today is lack of standard, both from the supply and the demand side. When you make business a canary and no standard for a particular business, it becomes so frustrating to the people that are passionate about such business. So I think the industry stakeholders, they actually need to wake up because agency services, because agency banking is actually transforming into agency services, not just payments alone. Today, in an attempt to do payment, we need to also open account opening. So for you to open an account, we have identification challenge, KYC issues. So we have to also set up agent on NIN enrollment. A lot of agent locations are also, So, but what are those challenges that are making it difficult, for agents to be able to execute and to perform these transactions well? The first is the quality of the agents that are on ground today, because what we have observed is every 3 months or 4 months, new agent comes in, and the old one, they close the shop. There is high rate of agent turnover because the process of recruiting and onboarding agents is not so standard enough. Compared to when we started agency banking, the first 5 providers, that is why you can also, it's also affecting the providers. The top 5 providers in the last 5 years, they are not even among the first 20 today. So it should be a major concern from the supply and the demand side of it. So, so from the agent level, the process of onboarding agents, I think we need to standardize it. We don't have to see agency banking as give them POS. We should see it as setting up an access point, of financial services, where varieties of, financial solutions can actually be accessed. So I think from that, and also training, we can also see, Shola will also bear me witness, during COVID, we want to see how we can actually, train agents without physical engagement. And Shola came up with a platform, a training platform for agents. You will be surprised, you'll be shocked that more than 70% of the agents cannot even attend online training because of the quality of the kind of agent that we have today. So in COVID era, how do you train when you cannot, deliver, training online? So we also discovered that providers too, they also need to work as an ecosystem, collaboratively. I think CBN has taken a bold step of not issuing more licenses because that space is actually, saturated. So they are taking that bold step. So it is now left for the existing provider to see how they can actually standardize and also work, not competing based on prices, compete based on solution. And it is important for us to also ensure standard of the platform. I discovered that most of the providers today, they roll out without doing pilot. They roll out without doing pilot. So that means for the initial 1 year of their rollout, they are using agents to do, experiments. And a lot of agents have actually lost a lot of millions, of naira due to unstandardized platform. A platform without transaction history, a platform without, disputes, complaint unit, So these are, and as of today, I've been saying this, and I think for the regulators that are also listening to us, there is a need for a specialized complaint channel for agency banking services. Agent services is a different segment of the industry that requires special treatment. Today, if there are any disputes at agent location, you are still expected to pass through the formal banking channel of writing an email, of waiting for the next 48 hours, of all this. Whereas most of the customers that agents are servicing, most of them are not mail kind of people. And when agents now say, okay, let me log it on behalf of the customer, the bank will bounce it back that you are not the customer. They want the customer to come and lodge the complaint. And you know where agents are positioned? In the rural of the ruralness. How will the customer will travel from a place, as far as Kagara, in Niger, to move to Kutangora, where you have the closest bank, which is around 300 kilometers because of 2,000 disputed transactions. So this is a major challenge. Another challenge is we have not been able to carry along the security agents. And I think this should come from the CBN and from the SANEF, to be able to connect, the commands, all the commands of all the agency, agents security network in Nigeria. Today, ordinary disputes will land agents and policemen. It shouldn't be because most of our agents, most of the police today, they are not aware, they don't understand, dispute resolution of electronic transactions. You see them asking for customers to go and bring their bank statement for POS dispute issue, and they will be saying, this is the money has left the account. You give the customer the money because they don't have the knowledge about it. In fact, the special fraud unit also, they also need to be trained about digital transaction and electronic transaction. Today, if an agent receives USSD, it is actually a sure way to prison, because when police are tracking, that transaction, they will terminate at agent location. They will not go further. Immediately they see the volume of transaction in agent accounts. Oh, this is a big fish. It's like catching a politician. So it started. They will start extorting and start coming up, with a lot of offenses against such agents. So we need to really carry the security agents, along. So and for quite a long of time now, agency banking will continue to be relevant because agent services are they are transferred from agency banking to agency services. What I have also observed is that most of the banks are actually closing their branches to minimize costs. So they are deploying agents network to fill that gap.
Thank you so much.
So
Thank you so much. I think you have actually hit the nail on the head, and you are spot on. And the majority of us, especially for us who are still in Nigeria, can attest to the fact that last year, at the peak of the COVID, some ATMs were not working and the markets were still opening. The only saviors that was available at that time were the agents. And it was very impactful. And I think they've been able to use that opportunity to scale. Like I was saying to some people yesterday, just on my street, I have close to 7 agents doing the same services. And I keep wondering that I didn't know that my street has become Bodilon, where everybody now dispense charge cash. So you're right. And I think, again, we also need to take the fact that you mentioned that regulators also have a role to play, especially in sensitizing the other agency of the government, like the police, the financial crime unit of the Nigerian police force, for everybody to be aware. And it's also very important, even for the agents, to also know the in-depth of their rights, the in-depth of what they need to do in case anything comes up. And thank you so much once again, Mr. Fasasi. Now, let me come back to Mr. Shola. At what point, from your own experience, from your own study of the trend, at what point will you confidently say that we have achieved inclusion to a significant level in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I'd like to answer that question in 2 parts. We have mostly been talking about what we call cash in, cash out agents, who are now everywhere. They provide access to cash, and that is one form of inclusion. So I'll speak first about that, and then I'll speak about the second category. We would have reached that level when I think Central Bank this time around recognizes that as of today, there are more agent POSs in the market than what is referred to as merchant POSs. And so what the industry needs is to redefine what is presently called merchant service scheme to agent service scheme. Because we are all working on a standard that is not fit for purpose. So the moment we get to that point where there is a recognized agent service scheme, all the challenges that we've put on the table will be addressed in that standardization process. In terms of the service provider, proliferation of POSs all over the place, security that Mr. Fasasi has spoke so much about, that scheme, dispute.
I'm not sure if I can hear Mr. Shola. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, the need for us to now recognize that scheme and put all the necessary standardization and resources around it. From that perspective, a lot of the challenges from the access to cash perspective will be taken care of, in my opinion. From the other perspective, when you talk about inclusion, we're now talking about access to leasing, to mortgage, to insurance, to loans. And when you look at percentages of agents in the market today who are involved in those additional services that are actually financial services, we're still talking about 10% of penetration. So there's still a lot of work to do in that regard. Of course, what we also need to do is to recognize that there are two categories of agents. The first category we've spoken about are the basic agents, the cash in, cash out agents. And the second category are the professional agents. Even though the name in front is the same, they are not the same in the same business at all. Because professionalism is still required when you talk about insurance, you talk about leasing, you talk about mortgage. And I argue that for you to qualify as a professional agent banker is a higher professional requirement than the present banking as we know it today. So we would have reached a major milestone, and we're getting there now when we start recognizing this new category of agents who are now becoming everywhere, and they have the professional capacity and competence. And there's also another structure that surrounds access to these additional services, as it were. Those are the two milestones that we believe that if we achieve in the industry, then access by the public will move to a much higher level. The last leg is to say that today when you go to an ATM, you don't have individual banks who are driving their own ATM services. The industry still needs that single agent platform that all the licensed operators will plug into, and every agent will be able to access all sorts of services, so that when one service provider does not meet up to standard, they don't need to switch devices. They just need to pick the one that meets standard on the same platform, the way we have it on the ATM platforms today. So we need that equivalent of ATM single platform interoperability between all licensed service providers. If those three things are achieved, then we will have gotten to that point where we will say inclusion is really activated in Nigeria. Thank you.
Well said, well said, well said. And I think there are several lessons that we can take out from this session. First is the fact that we've all agreed that agency banking or agent banking is critical to inclusion across the world. We've also agreed that with the event of things, especially the emerging global pandemic and every other thing going on, there is a need to create more channels for people to use as a means of assessing financial inclusion. Of course, we also agree that there is a lot that also needs to close in the aspect of the agent aspect. We are looking at the aspect of capacity development. We are looking at the aspect of sensitization among all the government agency so that they realize the role, and also the aspect of dispute was also mentioned. In addition to that, I overheard someone also mention the aspect of remuneration for the agent. Beyond the transaction, how can an agent transit from just being an agent to make it a career? That is also very important, such that they realize that this is not a short time, this is a long time opportunity for them to see. Now, I want to bring it back home, and I want to ask Mr. Olaoluwa on this. What has been your success story, in this space of agent banking? How do you measure your own success story? Is it in terms of outreach, or in terms of the people you've employed, or in terms of the transaction that actually apply through your platform? How exactly do you measure performance in this space of agent banking?
All right, thank you very much. For us, it ties directly into our company vision. Our When we started, agent banking, when we set up that we're going to pursue agent banking and set up the company in 2018, we set a vision that we're going to create 100,000 jobs through our agent network by 2024. That for us was the target. It wasn't about volumes of transactions. It was just about let us go out there and create employment. Let us go out there and create jobs. And what that did for us was that people tend to understand, people that work in e-settlement tend to understand that we're not just going out there and signing up agents. We're actually going out there to impact their lives and figure out I'm creating jobs. How do I make your life better? Was pretty much our job. So, and we've been doing that. And interestingly, we're going to reach that number either most likely 2022 now, anyway, and not 2024. But at least for us, that just shows that the most important thing, above every other thing, is actually going out there and doing good. We see it like we're doing God's work by going out there, creating jobs, creating agents. And it served a lot of purposes because number one is the fact that we're actually empowering someone to be an agent. And of course, even in addition to that, we have these small publications that we do that we call agent stories, where agents just share their story of how life was before they became an agent and how life is now after they've now become an agent and been able to make money for themselves. So we have all those stories that we publish every now and then. So I think that is majorly success for us. And then on top of that, we now start counting things like active rates, volume of transactions, GMV, and all that. So yeah, that's it for us.
Okay, thanks for that. I want to ask Isuzu Africa. Okay, he has gone. He's no longer on the call. Okay, he's coming back in. So I want to ask Isuzu Africa, what has been your success story in the aspect of digitizing informal collection in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think if you look at the narrative we have in the informal sector, Isuzu is actually inevitable. You have a lot of people transacting, engaged in daily contribution. And from our own experience on the field, we have discovered that at least you have every of these market men that actually save. They save across at least three thrift collectors, cut across as independent, Alajo or cooperative, or even microfinance bank, microfinance institution. So what we have actually done is bringing these guys on board because they have a lot of problems they face around manual record keeping, leading to data losses and errors. A lot of reconciliation issues. So what we have actually done is to digitize that process with a platform we provide to them, and this platform gives them a lot of intelligent insights about their savers from the angle of developing a lot of interesting products. So in the aspect of agency banking, we will also collaborate with financial institutions such as banks to provide them with, interesting products, savings products, bank account opening, trying to also enhance inclusion. So this platform also enable them to, get access to some other financial products, such as micro health insurance schemes, not only, giving them access to health, but also giving them access to opportunities like investment, micro, inclusive and effective savings. And the digitization aspect is also very important because you have these customers, we bringing them a lot of interesting insight. They get instant SMS alerts, they get instant receipt with a mobile printer by their collectors. And they also have access to download them an app. Some of them have access, they are more literate enough to download app. The customer can download the app to check their balance and the likes, and also transact themselves. Aside from also bringing on board a lot of digital literacy, financial literacy schemes to educate them about how they are able to access this financial. So, looking at the different end-to-end ecosystem from the customer to the collector to like institutions that also use this platform. I think it's really an enabler not only to drive inclusive finance, to drive digital finance, but also enhance agency banking. And we have like 5 different indicators. One of them is the Esusu savings, which is trying to enhance inclusive and effective savings. We also have the bank account. People that they're not active, they are not well, banked. If they have active bank accounts, we are able to really catch them at their spot of where they are transacting, where they are doing their daily business. You also have a lot of interesting things about digital identity. Look at the potential of this NIN now. So these agents can also bring them on board, not only to onboard them for NIN, but to ensure that their KYC are upgraded for them to transact. And you also have a lot of interesting products around the digital financial services. They want to buy time, they want to pay bills, they want to also access micro health insurance schemes. So the digital platform comes as a tool for these institutions and collectors to better bring their customers online and to drive them into this financial inclusion, not only empowering them economically, but trying to give them a sustainable way of transacting and also impacting their lives in line with the sustainable development goals.
Awesome. Thanks, Abdul. I think it's necessary for us to take a tea break, 5 to 10 minutes thereabout. Then we will come back and put some dots around all the things we've said so far. So just 5 to 10 minutes thereabout. Let's quickly take it.
Are you aware that 2 billion adults remain unbanked globally? Sure. Nearly 60% of African adults don't have a bank account. And 90% of financial transactions are still made in cash. In Nigeria, the percentage figure of the unbanked and underbanked population currently stands at 48.8% and 10.6% respectively, making it a total of 59% that are financially excluded. Who are these people? These are mainly petty traders, small-scale enterprise owners, farmers and artisans who live in rural and urban areas. Most often, they indulge in daily thrift contributions, also known as Esusu, where a collector collects certain amount of money from customers, and at the end of a month, the collector takes a fraction of the money for the services rendered. Are you aware of the problems faced by these Esusu collectors and their customers? No. Too much paperwork leading to frequent data loss and errors. High cash usage resulting in robberies, fraud and other cash-related crimes. It can also lead to financial loss in the case of fire and flooding incidents. They also have low access to credit and digital financial services. Their operational process is inefficient, leading to wastage of time and effort. So what is the way out? Are you a thrift collector or a financial service provider? Do you know that using electronic Esusu can help digitize, improve and enhance the performance of your Esusu scheme in a fast and secured system? With electronic Esusu, we explore the digital payment technology, global system mobile device, and a responsive smart agent network to drive financial inclusion to the last mile. Our system also provides members and management of the Esusu schemes with instant information on any transaction made, and it guarantees security of data and information. So what are you waiting for? Quickly sign up as an agent on e-esusu.ng and download the mobile app. Submit credentials for verification, agree to the terms and conditions, and start operating from any location. Let us also support CBN and all its allies to promote financial inclusion towards making the vision of cashless Nigeria by the year 2020 an utmost reality. Electronic Esusu is proudly supported by these partners.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and all those joining us in Africa, across the world. Welcome. This is a section that has been quite interesting, helping to make impact. You are definitely you are aware that this is powered by Center for Financial Inclusion, which is the Financial Inclusion Week, and today we are actually looking at agent banking network driving financial inclusion certain times. If you're just joining us, we know that this recorded session is available on YouTube. You can take the advantage to play the video again and listen to the interesting contribution by all our panelists. Again, we actually set out an objective, and part of the objective is the fact that we've all agreed that agent banking has a role to play in inclusion. Beyond inclusion, we've also realized that agent banking, yes, and becomes the future of banking. And COVID actually proved that to us as a reality. It proved out to us as a reality because during the lockdown, some of the branches were not opened and some of the ATMs were not functioning. But in front of our house, close to the street, there are these people with small kiosks and who claim that, you know what, you can withdraw here, you can do your transaction here. I was at the train station a few days ago, and as early as 5 a.m., so shocking. These people, I came around and they were asking, do you want to do withdrawal at 5 a.m.? At 5 a.m. Quite interesting. So I was so excited and I was wondering if the nearest future would be that at that same time, 5 a.m., as I'm through these same people, I can buy HMO, I can buy insurance, I can get a loan, I can do much more than just cash in, cash out. I know that there are several questions being posted online through different channels, and one of it is the aspect being asked by Adewumi Ojo. He actually commented that this is an interesting session, and he actually wanted to know what can we do to promote inclusion in the northern part, especially in the region where several undeserved due to low literacy level. So let me throw that question to Mr. Olaoluwa. How do you have taken the success story from Nigeria to other countries of Africa. So how do we help to solve the one even within very close to us here, which is the North area?
All right, thank you very much. I would say we've said a lot of things today, but I think that there's something that actually goes hand in hand, especially when you talk about financial inclusion that we've not mentioned at all. And for me, that would be economic inclusion. And now, what that really means is that before you tell me that I need to open an account and run that account, I need to have the money first. So that is something that needs to be addressed. We as fintechs or as financial institutions, we keep pushing and saying, oh, you need to have a formal bank account, you need to open an account with us. But then these people that are fully unbanked are thinking, why do I need that? And even if I do, what money am I going to put into it? So I feel like when we really go into the really completely underbanked, underserved areas, we need to not just focus on financial inclusion, but also make it go hand in hand with economic inclusion. So which is to say that we understand that you have a small business. Can we give you a 5,000 naira loan? How can we even make sure that there's something in your pocket? And I feel like that is something that would work in the north as well. Being able to provide that form of economic inclusion. As long as the economy improves, automatically financial inclusion would improve as well. I think that the major driver that we've had over the last few years or last few months has been that maybe from local remittance. So what you find is that, I want to receive money from my customers. I want people to be able to send money to me from all over the country. Therefore, I need to have a bank account because that makes it easy. So that has at least driven it up to one extent. But then the next step, to be able to cover everybody, we can't do it by financial inclusion alone. We need economic inclusion as well. Access to loans, access to finance, microfinance. It doesn't even have to be, we're not talking about 100,000 naira loans, but just enough to help people get by at the bottom of the pyramid. Then, of course, other things like literacy level, education, and all that would ride on top of that. Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback. Someone is also asking mobile money agents are really supporting financial inclusion, but we also need to explore the dark side of these agents and their operations. I guess um, that threw out several questions. I've had a situation where I had that um, the guys of the underworld, yes, and go around with even with POS and using it to defraud people. I think those are areas in which KYC can help us to address, and also sensitization can also be a very critical role in solving that problem. Having said that, I also believe that, like one of the speaker or panelists said, that the regulator has a role to play beyond the licensing. They also have a role to play in terms of collaboration and aggregating every stakeholders within this ecosystem in driving the awareness, yes, and down to the level at which even the agent of the government in terms of police can understand that having volume of transaction in my account, using it as an agent doesn't mean that you are or you are doing fraudulent transaction. I think so that those are the sensitization that needs to take place as soon as possible. Um, Someone also mentioned Remita is really an helpful tool for completing transaction. Of course, thanks for that. That's actually what we do in System Specs. We are currently integrated to all the ecosystem, all the players within the ecosystem. So whoever plugs into us have multiple channels for collection and also multiple channels for payment. And the good thing is that our platform is tested and trusted. When I mean tested and trusted, if the entire federal government of Nigeria and several states and organizations rely on the platform, an indigenous solution for that matter, to help to drive the ecosystem, that tells you how significant impact we have made in this ecosystem. Thanks for that impact. Before we round up, there are other questions that we also need to look at. Someone said POS charges agent charges unnecessary at that time. How do we resolve this? And I would have loved if Mr. Fasasi can help us to address that. How do we address this aspect of irregularity in agent prices? Oh, Mr. Fasasi is not here. So let me throw that question to Mr. Shola. How do we help in answering the question of irregularity in prices?
Standardization, it's as simple as that. Once again, the one we can relate with, if you go to an ATM, there is a standard charge for withdrawal, irrespective of the service provider. So if we achieve true interoperability across all the service providers, then charges become standardized, just like it happens at ATM channels. So that is what we need to work with. And companies like yours can actually play that role in achieving that single platform that every licensed operator can plug into. Once that happens, then I think the issue of arbitrary charging and so many other things that go with it will be addressed in one single sweep, more or less. And
Okay.
that also now extends to us having an agent service scheme. One is regulatory of sorts, the other one is technology, the interoperability is technology of sorts. The combination of both will definitely bring a lot more standards at agent locations.
I think that's right. Well, let me also add one to it. I also believe the welfare of the agents also needs to be looked into in terms of compensation, in terms of making them feel as if um, they are part of the future, not just using them to do processing. There should be much more than them just being processing. There should be much more in terms of what are the other welfare, which currently doesn't exist. And I think that's also a very important point we also need to add to it so that we can be able to regularize and put that standard in place. It is difficult to put there because the agent at the moment sees that he's only working for people and not working for himself. So the only way he can help himself is by determining the prices of what he will do. I've been in a situation where I went to the filling station and I wanted to do cash withdrawal, and the young lady said 1,000 naira and 40,000. And I'm saying, wait a minute. We are in a situation where everybody then need to do cost benefit analysis. I realize that in front of my house, there's somebody who is ready to do it for me for 300. And if I go to the ATM, the most is that they will charge me 35 naira times 4. You understand? That's around 140. So I then chose to go to the one in front of my house. And I think that's a situation that we need to address, especially in agency banking in Nigeria. There is also one question being posted by Okeshola. He says some who have bank account travel more miles to make deposits and withdrawal because they don't want to pay some extra cash to POS. What can be done? I guess that is where the standardization comes to play. I guess that is where the welfare of the agent also plays a very important role. Mr. Fasasi is back, and I want to, on the last note from Mr. Fasasi, couple of weeks or months from now, or probably we should say before the next financial inclusion Nigeria, what will you say will have been a success story that we'll celebrate?
Thank you very much. I think we are celebrating a success story of achieving the numbers. Today, the official figure of total number of agents, going by SANEF last report, for agents, true SANEF members alone, I think we were posting 900,000 agents, at that last count, based on the SANEF, and we should know that not all agents are SANEF members. So, and also we also have sub-agents that are off the books, So that means we should be looking about, in reality, we should be looking about times 2 of that figure, that they are given. And that is why in every 100 meters today, you can see an agent. That tells you that in numbers, we actually achieved that milestone. Now, we need to quickly move away from numbers to quality. And that is where collaboration is needed, very, very important now. Because what is the essence of numbers that cannot service the people? Today, wake up in the morning, look for where you can collect some cash. You will discover that all the agents are out of funds. And so because they need to quickly run, to the bank and recycle, the little capital that they have. So we need more support in terms of facility for the agents. The few ones that we have around today are very expensive because agency banking itself, agency business is segmented into 2 sets of funding. You have working capital. We also have money for capital expenses. You want to set up locations. You want to acquire terminal because most of the providers are now selling terminal. Because they could no longer wait to recoup their money. So setting up, but the only available funding today is as high as 70%, in a year, 6% in a month. Some are 10% per month. And since that is the only available fund, you see them collecting it. And they are not stable funds. They are meant for working capital, but they want to stay. Agents want to stay. You see them, diverting that into buying POS, buying kiosks and that. And before you know it, they run into, a lot of them are inside the below list, So for us to achieve another milestone in agency banking, I think what we are looking at is more collaboration between providers and also to be able to give opportunity for business. Because quite all right, if we don't make agency banking to be a business where all players can make their margin, then at the end of the day, it's not going to be sustainable. So my priority and the priority of stakeholders in the industry is to be able to achieve viable agents which they're going to be standardized to the level of a mini bank, standard, because anybody cannot just wake up tomorrow and start banking operations. And a bank cannot just wake up and say, I'm implementing this price regime. It's an industry thing. It's only in agency banking that you discover that one provider who is able to access one free money in Europe, is just come up and saying, I'm doing my own service at €0. How do you want other players to survive in the industry? So I think these are the areas where industry. So until we are able to have agents professionally trained, and I'm happy that professionalism is coming into play now. For the first time in history, kudos to Shola and co. For the first time in history, agency banking is now a curriculum in CIPN exams. For the first time in history. So I think if we can continue in that trend, if we can also stop some practices where we want to also, empower people, and we say, okay, we are giving, because recently, like last month, there was a deployment of agency services in some part of the north, where they are giving agents 20,000 naira startup. It's ridiculous. You are only giving those people, you are recruiting as luxuries to come and be doing agency banking. You are just bastardizing it. 20,000 naira, I don't know who wrote that kind of proposal, cannot serve as a capital. You are only giving those people money for food. I know by in the next 1 month, those terminals will be rotting under the bed, So we need to start standardization process to ensure, and that is when we can all be happy, because today, affordability is what is key in agency banking services. It is not about cheap. Nobody speaks about cheap. Financial inclusion is about affordability. So if an agent is operating across the river in Niger, and transport for a customer to make payments in a bank, the closest bank is about 300 kilometers. You just spend at least 4,000 naira, go come. And an agent is saying, okay, let me service you. Pay me 1,000 naira. I think it's affordable. So these are the areas that until we achieve that standardization, then we are good. Then the second issue is we don't need to be, not all the players, tech providers, you don't need to go for licenses. Why everybody's, today I think we are over licensed in that space, Today with open banking, with API sharing, the existing license, the existing licenses are enough, to play around, to render services, digital financial services in Nigeria. We just need to have handshakes, here and there. And because then we need to be becoming more, leverage on our strengths. Not that I am a bank and I want to run the whole ecosystem. I want to be the one to provide technology. I want to be the one to roll out. I want to be the aggregator. In fact, some providers even try to the level of direct to the market strategy, which failed woefully because the terrain are very rough. The terrains of the agency informal sector are very, very rough. Like the garages, the motor parks, where you have, the touts, the miscreants. So a banker will not find it so easy to exist there. We know how we manage them. We know how we work with the local government authorities, to build a structure, to build structures as is. So we need to do more of collaboration between aggregators, between fintech companies, between banks, So we just need to, for us to be able to be sustainable. I think that's the way the industry should be looking at. And other services too that are coming into space. I think we also need CBN to protect agents more. A lot of providers are leveraging on agent network today to push out their services. For example, NIN, National Identity Number, involvement of over 4,000 agents actually push Nigerian figure from 10 million enrollment. We spent about 10 years to achieve 10 million enrollment. Within just 1 year of our agent involvement, we exploded to 60 million. And but today, those agents that have been able to achieve that feat, they are not being paid. So that process has not been automated. They have to still, they are the mercies of the ministry and the providers. It is not that at the end of the month they are expecting a lot of what they have done. They are turning into civil service. We need a structure where that can listen to the agent. That can get all these solutions for the agent. So, and I think in the coming years, we will be able to have agent locations that are mini bank in structure, agent locations that are sustainable to be able to stand the test of time. Because what I've also observed is all the informal transactions that are not on our books before, now they are on our books, not via individual accounts, but through agents situated in the rural of the ruralness. Being able to, mobilize, all those rural, transactions, into their own books. Because agents have books, then all those figures are reflecting, in our national database. That is what we have. And I'm also happy about the strategy of the e-Naira too. There is also business for agents in that structure. And agency banking is actually come here to stay. Thank you.
Awesome. Quite an interesting session and conversation going on across several pillars. I think we can exhaust this topic. I think probably there is need for us to have another session at this time. We will bring even the CBN Hassan to sit, and we will then definitely see how we can rub mind together towards solving these challenges that we have. Just a takeout. Number one, we believe that regulators has a role to play, sensitization, helping to look at some bottlenecks, which is the aspect of reconciliation, escalation, customer support, especially for the agent. Of course, we also realize that even financial institution has a role to play. And what are their roles, especially in the aspect of supporting the agent and also the aspect of the prices. You can't be pushing for inclusion and at the same time you are using prices to chase people away. So those are the areas that we need to speak to as soon as possible. I want to say thank you to everyone. I will sincerely want a last note from everybody. So let me hear Mr. Shola make his last comment.
Thank you very much. Fasasi said that the first professional agent banking exam took place 3 weeks ago in Nigeria. I look forward to the near future where universities now have agency banking as an option in JAM in the near future. That is the direction from a capacity building that we need to head towards. From the regulator perspective, I'm looking forward to Central Bank creating an agency banking department. There's a department for microfinance banks. There's even for non-banking. It should not be just, right now it's floating in the air. So we're looking for near future where we'll be going to meet with the director of agent banking so that we can regularly address our industry challenges. We need an agent service scheme. The merchant service scheme that forces every POS provider to first of all go and meet a PTSP before they can provide agency banking is part of what is creating the challenge. And yet they form 95% of all POSs in circulation. An agent service scheme will address standardization, will address remuneration for agents, will address issues around fraud at agent locations, and so many other things. We bring everybody to the table in a standardized manner. So hopefully sometime soon we will start talking about an ASC as an addition to an MSc. My colleague said we've not spoken about something, and I like that. Economic inclusion. Maybe that's a way of clarifying that what we presently call financial inclusion is really access to cash. But economic inclusion is the next focus that we need to make. And the starting point is to say that when we reel out Nigerian figures, we talk about 60% of Nigerians that don't have access to bank account. But we talk less about 90% of Nigerians that don't have access to mortgage, insurance, all these other financial services that are actually much more important, that actually drive the cash in itself. And that is the next area of focus that we all need to start playing together. Of course, in specific terms, one should be able to walk to an agent location and say, I need a 5 million naira loan. And all they need to do is fill some single form that will give them that access. We're not theorizing that these are things that we can make happen. Of course, we have agents today. Some carry as many as 7 POSs, one agent. What are they doing with 7 POSs? Through interoperability, so that one device can access all service providers. We need to get to that point, and that will also drive standardization. My final remark, I look forward and I invite all banks. If you want to shut down your bank branch, we are available. We are available to start taking over bank branches that are shutting down, because agent banking is the real driver of Nigeria's economy moving forward. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well said, Mr. Shola, and quite interesting. Let me give room for a parting word from Olaoluwa, the man who has coast across Africa.
All right, thank you very much. So I don't have a lot to say. I just want to add that I really think that we've come a very, very long way. We've done so much, and I don't mean me, I mean the industry, in terms of creating that bridge for people to be able to access financial service. We've done a lot, first of all, by serving the underserved, people that are actually banked, but underbanked because the banks are far from them. Now, a lot of the battle is shifting towards those that are fully unbanked and trying to get them to open accounts. Yes, so we've actually done a lot, but then there is still a lot to get done. And I think that the market is still there. I know that a lot of places are saturated already, but there are still places that are not saturated. The market is still there. There is still room for growth, and we would continue to push, continue to grow. I like all the feedback from all the other panelists in terms of what we're looking for in the future. I don't want to repeat all that, but I'm just so excited about the future, and I feel like this is not the beginning, but it is not. We are still closer to the beginning than we are closer to the end. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Mr. Olaoluwa Awojodu, the CEO of eSettlement. Let me also allow the man from Isuzu Africa, from Isuzu Nigeria now to Isuzu Africa. Just a parting word.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's really interesting to have all these conversation around how to different agency banking. From our own end, if you look at the definition of agency banking, practically from the numbers that are available out there, you look at it as just cash in, cash out. If we don't want to underestimate it, the numbers. So it's beyond cash in, cash out. Even looking at the statistics of the states that brings most of the traction, of agency banking. Lagos State is one of them. And this is just like a an urban, well, settled environment. So it goes beyond that. I think it's very, very important to also look at agency banking from another perspective, which is from bringing a lot of interesting financial products and services, such as inclusive savings. This informal sector is very huge in terms of the potential it can also bring to the GDP of the economy, and trying to develop products around these customers for them to access inclusive and effective savings through the pattern of this Esusu collection, Esusu contribution. It's also very, very critical, not only from the contributor aspect, but from the collector aspect, like the institutions, cooperatives, which they have access to liquidity that can, enhance the agency banking service. And this is very, very important. And they also go beyond that to bring in a lot of collaboration around, like the HMO that has been mentioned, micro pension, micro mortgage product. Not only that, the digital identity inclusion, which is like what Mr. Pasase mentioned around the NIN enrollment. There are also interesting products that needs to be harnessed to to contribute to this agency banking service. Is very, very important. This is just letting us know that there are a lot of potential in agency banking in Nigeria, and we are here to also leverage the opportunities in it. And we believe with the numbers, looking at what we are getting, I think it's going to be a great opportunity, and the future is bright with agency banking in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well said. Um, a parting word from me probably will be the beginning of another conversation.
Yeah.
First, several millions of dollars have been given out by the likes of EFINA in helping to do inclusion. I've had several organizations who have had opportunity to get the money, but I'm yet to see the impact of that money visible and significant in Nigeria. Probably we should say that the money is given to the wrong people, but I guess not. They also claim they have what it takes to change, but probably along the line, something changed. Something changed in terms of probably the market intelligence was not well looked into before even thinking that they have a solution to it. Of course, there is also the other camp that claim that technology is the solution, while some people believe that technology is just an enabler and sign in collaboration with other entity that can help to solve it. Now comes the question. Agent banking is actually the way to go. Riding on technology, riding on connectivity, riding on the understanding and the awareness. And I think that's the reason why this session is quite important and interesting to consider for the future. I'm excited. I'm excited with all the panelists have said. I'm also excited that the company I currently work with, System Specs, owner of Remita, it has laid the infrastructure ready to plug into anyone who is also looking at leveraging our infrastructure to enhance financial inclusion, not just inclusion, but also to economic inclusion. Like one of the listener or the participants mentioned, that we also need to look at how we encourage the market women in terms of saving. Now, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to anchor this event. I also want to specially thank the organizer, especially our convener, Mr. Ajetumobi Olumayowa. Thank you for all you are doing for inclusion. We look forward to days ahead, weeks ahead, if not years, but very close, where we will come back again and we will say inclusion has now been achieved in Nigeria and we can replicate that across the world. Thank you once again to all the panelists, and thank you for making this session an interesting one and providing insight that can help to deepen the inclusion in Nigeria. Au revoir from my own side.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful time with everybody on this panel today. I mean, I've learned so much about agent banking myself, the challenges and everything about it. I think there's more room for discussion. Like Akao we have in Nigeria says, discussion continues, and definitely this discussion will continue. Thank you for our participants online. Thank you for your questions. We're sorry so many people did not get the link on time. We're sorry about that. Please accept our apologies. This brings us to the end of Financial Inclusion Week 2021, but this is not the end of financial inclusion. As we have all seen on this in this week, that the discussion continues. So my panelists, everybody listening to us, this is going to be an ongoing session. So we've mentioned the security agents, the regulators. Maybe we need to engage with them more on a platform like this so that we can actually talk and express ourselves, so we can hear ourselves better, and people outside also can also talk and come into the discussion with us. The video is going to be live on YouTube, on Facebook, and CFI Global channel. Feel free at any point in time to go back and watch it. I mean, I've been having an awesome time watching all the videos from time to time over the past few days, and I encourage everybody to do that. To the boss of the day, the moderator from Sister Spec, Mr. Oluwaseun Adesanya, thank you very much for your time. You've actually done very well. To my very good brother, Mr. Shola Bikested, thank you for your insightful knowledge, and sincerely, I share in your dream, and you know I strongly believe that that dream is going to come true one day. Mr. Abdulaziz Oguntoyibo from Esusu Africa, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in to share your knowledge. Mr. Fasasi partnered the ecosystem. So I thought that was a French word, but thank you for coming on board and giving us your insight. To my very good friend that has conquered Africa, Mr. Olaolu Awojodu. Thank you for coming. We'll still call on you. This is not the end of the discussion. The discussion continues. And thank you all for coming. This brings us to the end of Financial Inclusion Week 2021. The planning for Financial Inclusion Week 2022 starts now, and the engagement continues. It's nice having everybody on board, and I wish you all the best for the day. Thank you, and look forward to you again in year 2021. You have a very pleasant day ahead.